So hopefully you've had a chance to look at the cosine rule notes video now. It's like 3 or 4 minutes on establishing what cosine rule is and how to label your triangle in a very, very similar fashion, exactly the same as sine rule. The only thing that's different is the formula that you're using. So now we'll look at some examples. So put your title and put your date if you want to. Write all this down. Pause the video if you need to, and then start drawing your triangles along with me at the same time. So, first question is going to look something like this. So, ruler and pencil. Remember, these diagrams are not to scale. Just doing as best we can with this. So, get that drawn. Going to have A, B, C this way around. I'm going to give you this angle is 96 degrees. Got 7.4 centimeters on this side and 3.9 centimeters on this side. So if you notice the difference between this question and previous questions which we've looked at on sine rule, there's no instance where we've got an angle and its corresponding side. So we've got the angle at A, but we haven't got the side opposite this. We've got the length of side B, but we haven't got the angle there. And in the same way, we've got the angle. We haven't got the angle at C, but we've got the side opposite it. So there's no letter which we've got both the angle and the side for. So sine rule isn't going to be much use here. That only works if you've got the angle and its corresponding side. So this highlights this is going to be cosine rule again. It's a non-right angle triangle. I know that because this 96 degree angle in here, I can't have a 96 degree angle. There's no way the triangle can be right angled. So we're going to go ahead and label this up in exactly the same way we've talked about before, and then we're going to look at how cosine rule works in this question. If you've got these two sides and an angle sandwiched between them, cosine rule is going to be a good option for us to use. So let's label a triangle. So opposite capital A, opposite the angle A, we're going to label that lowercase a, exactly as we did with sine rule and in the video on the notes if you've watched that. Opposite angle B, we're going to call this little b, and then opposite angle C, we're going to call this little c. So we're labeling it exactly the same way. We've decided we're going to use cosine rule, so always write down the equation, the formula that you're going to use. So cosine rule is a squared equals b squared plus c squared minus 2bc cos a. Okay, and some little things with cosine rule. This length and this angle will always match. So at the start and the end, they must be the one that corresponds to the other one. And then the other lengths in here, they're the two other lengths in the question, B and C, the two opposite. We've labelled it all up nicely, so we can just go ahead and sub in here. So a squared, oh, I didn't give you your x, did I? So this was actually the x here, sorry, my mistake. So where the a is, that's where the x is meant to be, so you can fill that in. So a is x, so we're going to put that in place. So x squared, use brackets to sub in. B squared, so b is 7.4. So this is going to be 7.4 squared plus c squared. Little c is 3.9. So 3.9 squared minus 2 lots of bc. Again, b and c are 7.4, 3.9 respectively. And then cos a, and it's capital A that we've got here. So that means we're looking at the angle at A, which is this value here, because that's the angle at A, 96 degrees. So we can throw that into our formula too. So cos 96. You can put brackets around that bit if you want, but you don't need to. And then you can stick all this in your calculator if you want to, and it will give you an answer for x squared. Okay, I prefer to think about this using BidMaths a little bit more and do this a bit more individually because my calculator was not as fancy as yours are these days. So 7.4 squared, so 54.76 plus 3.9 squared, which is 15.21. And then 2 times 7.4 times 3.9 is 57.72, so this is minus 57.72 cos 96. And if you do it this way, then you should get to appreciate bid mass a bit better. If you stick it on your calculator, then you should skip right to almost to the very end. Be very careful here. People have a tendency to see these three numbers and start adding and subtracting them. Remember that last number that I've left highlighted? That is attached to the cos 96 by multiplication. So I've got to work out 57.72 cos 96 before I do any kind of subtraction. Okay, so we can add the two numbers before together. So 54.76 and 15.21 to get 69.97. So we can add those two together. Before I do anything with this, I have to multiply because I'm following bid mass, as I should always be. And I get my value for x squared, so I can just type that in my calculator. Okay, in reality, it's going to multiply the 57.72 by the cos 96, and then it's going to add the 69.97 on. We get 76.00. So if you stuck that, etc., if you stuck this step here, if you put that straight into your calculator, then you'd have gone straight down to here, which is also absolutely fine. But it's good to understand what's going on in your calculator because it doesn't show it's working. To get from x squared to x, square root both sides, square root the exact value so don't round it. And again, once you get a bit better, this step you can probably choose to omit if you want to, if you're confident, because the square rooting that to give us 8.717-ish. But this is quite obvious from there to there that we've square rooted both sides. And then it's a length, so I'll round it, 8.72, 7 rounds the 1 up. It's in centimetres, and the degree of accuracy, it's a length 3SF. That's how I use cosine rule.